Hey guys, what's up? So we've got more of this stupid behaviour happening within probably I would say the world, but since I'm in the UK, I'm covering this from a UK perspective. Officers wary as spit attacks rise in coronavirus pandemic. Obviously, in this time, people are very concerned about biological aspects, people touching each other, any sort of traces of stuff, and obviously. Um, the virus can be found in basically any bodily fluids. So if you use the bathroom, you can find it in that. You can also find it, obviously, because it kind of hangs in the lungs. So it obviously can end up in your spit. People have been doing this as a way of, well, there have been several cases. There was several confirmed cases anyway. There was one that was a Victoria station lady who was spat at and unfortunately died. She has had an 11-year-old daughter who is unfortunately having to now live with relatives because of just, someone didn't want to, someone was just being stupid. You had a freeloader who was riding in the back of a taxi, refused to pay, spat at the guy, and he ended up dying as well. And now you also have the attacks on the police, which I think is just completely disgusting. Um, so, spitting attacks on police may be behind a national rise in assaults on emergency workers during lockdown, officials have said. Figures from the National Police Chiefs Council, the NPCC, for England and Wales, showed a 14% rise in attacks in 1 month compared with last year. An officer said the assaults have made colleagues really wary on patrol. The CPS, or the Crown Prosecution Service, said it had moved quickly to bring these cases to justice. The figures for the 43 territorial forces in England and Wales are a snapshot of assaults on emergency workers in the 4 weeks to the 10th of May, so you're probably looking about the 10th of April. Compared with the same period last year. The NPCC said the increase was likely due to a rise in attacks where suspects spat at officers while claiming to be infected with COVID-19. More than 300 people were charged with coronavirus-related emergency worker assaults in April, with the vast majority resulting within a conviction, the CPS said. Forces had full access to coronavirus testing facilities and had low absence figures for officers and staff across the UK, according to the NPCC. Nottinghamshire police officer Anthony Bryce was detaining a man in Walksop when he spat at him and his colleague. Mr. Bryce later tested negative for COVID-19, but said before the results he and his family were incredibly anxious. He said the possibility of these kinds of attacks was making officers on patrol during the pandemic very wary. It's always in the back of your mind, he said, especially when there's a public order incident when you have to get hands-on with the public. Mr. Bryce added he was not surprised by the national rise in assaults due to the frustrations of lockdown for many. We normally get the brunt of everything. People don't like being told what to do, he said. Daniel Hegarty, 32, of Edinburgh Walksop, was sentenced to 26 weeks in prison following the assault. Mr. Bryce said he was pleasantly surprised by the result, having been the victim of assaults in the past, which did not result in prison time. Several forces across England have published figures for assaults on officers or emergency workers during the coronavirus lockdown. Thames Valley Police said between March and April there were 198 assaults on police officers, 58 of which involved them being coughed, spat at, or bitten. In Kent, police reported 196 assaults on officers in March and April, with nearly double the number of spitting incidents compared to last year. Cleveland police reported 81 assaults on officers and staff between the 30th of March and the 13th of May. Nottinghamshire police said there have been 61 reported cases of key workers being coughed or spat at between the 20th of March and the 27th of April, with a further 28 reported up to 18th of May. Officers at Lincolnshire Park Police were subjected to 36 assaults, which included threats to infect, staff with coronavirus in the 4 weeks to 24th of April, according to the local Democracy Reporting Service. Over a weekend in March, Avon and Somerset police reported 6 officers being bitten, spat at, or someone coughed in their face, saying they had COVID-19. The attacks have been condemned by senior police officers. Chief Constable of Thames Valley Police, John Campbell, said to spit, cough, or bite at an officer or emergency service worker is despicable at any time, but in the current situation with coronavirus, it is even more deplorable. He said any officer who was assaulted was supported by a comprehensive welfare support plan. The force said all officers had access to PPE and further protection, such as spit guards. Assistant Chief Constable Steve Graham from Cleveland Police said the damaging assaults had shaken the morale of people working on the front line. Like people living in our communities, our staff are having to deal with the personal impact of COVID-19. And whilst assaults at any time are unacceptable, to have them increase during this uncertain time impacts their well-being, he said. Chief Constable Alan Pursley from Kent Police said, fortunately now we're seeing these people go to prison, which is where I think they should be. Max Hill, Director of Public Prosecutions at the CPS, said, we've identified particular appalling conduct towards emergency workers, and we've moved, I think, very quickly in partnership with the police to bring those cases to justice. This behaviour is just completely unacceptable. People are becoming a lot more feral in this type of situation. They know they're more likely to kind of strike fear into people if they do this, and this is why they feel they can get away with it kind of scot-free. I feel tougher sentences should be taken on them. We're quite soft in the UK. I think they've just doubled offences. I think Priti Patel, who is kind of in charge of like home security, has enforced a doubling of sentences for anyone attacking key workers, the emergency staff. So you're looking at firefighters, ambulance workers, and the police, from 6 months to 12 months, and doubling of the fines as well. I don't think this is actually good enough. In America, they're actually charging these people with bioterrorism, which is what it should be. This is the idea that you're deliberately trying to infect someone with a disease to make them suffer. I think that's only right to treat them that way, and actually, I wouldn't actually blame the police if they wanted to actually start attacking in response. I think there should be a policy where you're allowed to assault an individual if they've done this to you. Personally, for me, if someone spat at me, I would break their jaw, because this is the behaviour that they deserve. They deserve to be killed. These scum will be found, they will be dealt with, and they will be, if necessary, if they're not of this country, deported. This is unacceptable behaviour, and anyone who thinks this is acceptable deserves to kill themselves. I don't care what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. Like or dislike the video. I'd just like to hear what you think, given this situation. What you think the police could do. And have you had this in, say, for example, your country? Has this been a behaviour that some of the people in your country have been exhibiting? Or is this more kind of specific to certain countries?